or even millions. But because he's trying to obviously play the blur farming game, but other ones, are going to get hurt with this for sure.
No doubt. It's it's definitely interesting. I don't know. Um, obviously there's more than one thing going on with Machi as well with the Gitcoin situation as well.
Hmm.
So which so I mean I could imagine he's got supremely deep pockets considering the amount of uh, hits that he's taken over the last few weeks, and just the
Yeah.
general consensus on farming in general not necessarily being the most profitable activity, at least in a on a high volume situation there. So that's I'm curious to see how people manage on that once this drop season 2 finishes too.
Yeah. So what are you looking on today? There was a couple of early on movers, but I haven't seen much recently. I haven't been able to pay attention much to the volume. Are you looking at anything specifically, or?
No, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I've put a lot of focus on trying to um, up or enhance
Mhm.
the ability I have to analyze some data. So
Oh, that's
I'm
right. Interesting.
using Power BI in this instance, which I use on my 9 to 5, and allows me to capture in this case about 10 million records worth of NFT transactions, and then play around and analyze it on a much larger scale. So that's what I've been working on to try and build out, with
Hmm.
hopefully being able to provide a little bit more market insight, ability to look into some interesting cases, also be a tool for just like summarizing and going over on calls and whatnot. So the one drawback to it is it's not shareable beyond what I have access to because it's locked down to my desktop. And in fact, this case, it needs to run on PC, but I do everything else on a Mac. So I'm actually remoting into my PC and then sharing it out that way, which is uh, kind of doubly interesting. But so I've put a lot of focus and attention there, but it's coming along. It's gotten a lot of the ways to where I want to get it. I'm able to
Hmm.
to load in records, see the market volume, market share, all that kind of stuff. But then once you get that up, then you can also filter out um, items and stuff like that. So I could take out the top 20 buyers and look at them individually or exclude them, etc. And look at on a collection basis some floor analysis. So that's where
Cool.
the attention's been,
Hmm.
versus the a bit of the market chaos that's been going on, which a lot of cycling from what I've seen on projects. Um, Blur bid volumes is still leading the way, and then we are seeing a few random projects that are hitting with some success. Obviously, get um, Gitcoin and things like that have been very successful. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. Yeah, no, I saw the charts on your channel and they look pretty cool, and the data that you're able to extract is pretty valuable. So
Yeah, yeah.
looking forward to hearing more about it.
Where it all kind of
Hmm.
came up was, last week we were talking in one of these sessions, and we wanted to look at some of the sales history on Magically, and it was very limited, right? It only goes back about 2,500 transactions on a collection. So then, if you're looking at, say, other deeds, you might want to see a few days worth of sales history. So you can't necessarily do, the overall analysis on the collection, which sucks. My understanding is Parsec does allow you to do all of that, but Parsec is pretty advanced. It's not necessarily as accessible. And then I also realized that hey, I do this on a daily. Only thing I'm lacking is the tools itself. And like, I mean, I can't obviously use my 9 to 5 work items because then I'm tapping into resources that aren't necessarily earmarked for this. So I made it happen all myself. So that's where it's at. I might transition it to something like Tableau, which then makes it more shareable, and I could do a bit of a public dashboard. So I'm just not as comfortable in Tableau as I am Power BI. So Could be interesting, could be extra value there, but just kind of playing that through.
Yeah, no, look forward to it. Were you able to connect with Monks? I know he's been. I mean, he's a Parsec guy, but but he's also been able to extract great data points outside of Parsec. So maybe you guys can get together and create like a comprehensive uh, data set for for us to kind of like look at it, because
Yeah,
it's just so important to look at it, different ways to look
yeah,
at data, right?
yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just so much out of there, and that's always kind of some of the challenge with anyone in this space is, where do you look and how do you look and how do you stay on top of things. Like, if you're just looking at recent activity on Magically, well, that's just one subset of it all, right? That's just a current trending project of the moment, but that doesn't necessarily provide you the best opportunity at that time. And then if you go to Blur, well, you can look at Blur and see some of the volume in the traders and look for collections that you have interest in. But these are, I mean, they're always the higher volume collections that you're going to see unless you look at something like trending. So there's, having ways to summarize that a little bit more effectively, I think is still, um, I think of good potential value. So speaking of, like, I mean, obviously with ETH taking a tumble and NFT collections taking a tumble, this is probably a good entry point. I mean, I think there's still maybe a little bit of uncertainty in the market just with what's going on with, some of the banks, institutions, things like that, and some of the crackdown that's going on. Are, I mean, but they're all, the way I see it. I mean, and the way we've experienced it is it's all kind of stuff where we've been before, right? So I don't know if the narrative has changed in a way that is that much more dramatic. Maybe the only part of it is the realization that there's a little bit more economic pain and uncertainty yet to follow, and then that maybe that's a bit of the depression in floor prices. But I think it's just more the instant panic and overreaction. So, if there are collections you're looking at, this is probably a not a bad entry point. Obviously, uh, enter into the collections that you're most convicted in, because there's still some uncertainty and risk in here. But um, you know, and then the collections that are taking the hardest hits are the ones that are really the ones that have are newer, maybe easier to exit with profit, etc., sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, now we'll see what happens with the banks and the contagion. That, I mean, look, crypto is already so like we were so happy with this last run, right? And then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if you realize most crypto is, it's been down 80% for for most part of the 2022 year. And
Yeah.
yes, yeah, it came up a little bit. Everyone was happy.
Yeah.
Bitcoin going from 20 to almost 25K, and then yeah, it came back a little bit. But like, how much more can crypto get? Completely
Yeah. Yeah.
destroyed here,
Yeah.
right? So I
Right.
think, Borchila and I were speaking. I think when you think about it, like there might be probably much more pain coming from the U.S. equities and treasuries, right, than actually the crypto market. The
Mm-hmm.
crypto market will probably go down fast, but then it will probably also recover faster too,
Mm-hmm.
just because there's really not that much left to, when you think about it, what happened. There's not just much. There's not really many more people to sell. All the institutions capitulated. Most of the institutions already capitulated, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just, whales will keep accumulating, and we'll get there. So not too concerned about crypto, but definitely, if you're a startup and you raise capital through SVB, or any of these, venture backed banks, institutions, you probably are right now panicking. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I definitely sympathize with many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, that's it's the last place you really expect uh, not being able to capture your funds from. It's not the spot, but obviously the scenario that's played out, it's made it very difficult for banks in unique scenarios that um, definitely puts risk on there. But yeah, you sitting there and you're like hearing about the big dump in crypto, and you're like, well, not really. I mean, it's sure it's 10, 12%, 15%, but that doesn't feel like a lot anymore, uh, given some of the cycles that we've been through. Um, so it's and often it's been a good entry point shortly thereafter. So uh,
Mhm.
it's but going into the weekend here and going into early next week, it's you know it's the timing wise. I think wasn't FTX going like a weekend scenario too, like happened on a Friday, um,
Mhm.
where it makes it a little harder. You're like, oh well, what's going to be the fallout, and nothing really happens over the weekend, and you don't necessarily know what's going to go on, and then you kind of miss some of that opportunity as you try to wait for more news. What's up, Danksy?
What's good, Danksy? We're chatting here about the world ending soon.
Yep.
Everyone is concerned. So
Oh, what's up, guys?
yeah,
Since you're
King.
both here, I might as well let you know. Space Riders wants in on our poker game. What do
The
you guys think?
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll let them know.
Can you make a group chat on Discord and we can talk details?
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Thanks, King.
Make sure no one's out there getting quads on your pocket aces. Oh my goodness. As soon as it dropped too, because it was the first hand I played. I was busy cooking. It's an awkward time for poker to be going on. I'm trying to cook a meal, and it's one of those um, you know, mailbox meal kind of thing. So you're learning how to cook the meal. So I'm reading the instructions, and then of course it was the first time I played the poker in one of these events. So I was trying to do it on my laptop, but that wasn't happening. And I was trying to do it on my phone, but my orientation was off. So I actually had a good hand just prior to that. I had trips off the flop, but
Yeah.
I couldn't call or couldn't bet or raise because it wasn't in the right orientation. So I was already on tilt. And so then you get the pockets, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna slow play this. As soon as the flop comes down, I'm like, nope, someone's totally gonna have the trips on this, and I'm already dead. And of course, that was the case. So it was fun, but yeah, no, it's cool.
Yeah, I know it's tough to get the time right,
Mm-hmm.
because most people, again, if we tailor just to Americas, right? Like most people have a 9 to 5, and so
Mm-hmm.
doing poker during the day, right? Like most people can't join,
Mm-hmm.
right? They can just
Mm-hmm.
hop on Discord, chat, etc. But play a game, it'll take an hour or so. So if you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, right? Eastern time, 5 p.m. PST is about 8 p.m., right? So
Yeah.
for Eastern time is about, already winding down the evening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, for Pacific time, even for Mountain time, it's a little bit like weird, right? Because it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is about the time that you get to, to have dinner, etc.
Yeah.
But it's also good for certain Asia time zones, because even like Milky is in Singapore,
Mm-hmm.
wakes up fairly early, and
Yeah.
5 p.m. for us is about 8 or 9 a.m. for him, something like that, a bit
Yeah.
earlier, 7 a.m. So late PST afternoon works out pretty well for almost everyone but Europe, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. We'll probably try to play around with the times. Maybe next week, Dengsi and King, maybe we can try to do it. Maybe a little bit earlier, PST, and maybe see how that works out.
I'll be in Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm leaving Tuesday, so I'll be at that point. Like with the time change on Sunday, it goes
Hmm.
from 5 hours ahead to 4 hours ahead. So I'll be 4 hours ahead of Eastern.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
earlier is fine. It's just now that it's just the Asian people are asleep. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, but
we'll
then
just swap it off every week. It doesn't really
yeah,
matter, I
because
think.
we also have a bunch of members from Europe. We have a bunch of people from Germany and Netherlands, and so maybe we let them play too. Otherwise, they're gonna have to just watch everyone get these prizes, right? So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we could do one in the morning one week, or
mhm. Yeah.
Mix it up a bit. Yeah.
even do two a week. Do one at one time and one at another time, because you're gonna have different people playing in both of them.
Yeah, we can try that too. I mean, if we get Space Riders, then we can get a bunch of other communities. Depends on how many people want to join. We can do one or two. I'm definitely fine with that.
Yeah, I got Space Riders said yeah, and also JRNY Club. They want to
My
be in on
journey.
it.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Fun.
Yeah, we can put up. The more people that showed up, the more nicer we can put up the prices, right? Uh, so that will make it exciting for people to join. That's
Yeah, I
the
figure from each community, you'll have like one of the NFTs, or you'll have, something
mm-hmm.
being
Yeah,
donated for it. So it should be
yeah,
good.
yeah. I think this is a good time for everyone to come together, right? It's just there's so much uncertainty that it's good to bring communities together, we did it with Queer Keys and a bunch of other communities back in the day, um, but yeah, we'll try to make it work for everyone, and I'm sure it's going to be fun. We can do some live stream music. I don't know, something cool to make it entertaining. But anyways, Rhodes, I don't want to take your thunder, man. Keep going.
All good. Yeah. So I was just gonna got this all loaded up here. Just kind of walk through it a bit, on some of the stuff, and then from there, what I ask is, like, just generate those ideas of, what are certain elements that, maybe haven't been conceivable in the past that we could look into, dig into, right? So, because I essentially have, outside of mint and non NFT sale transactions, I have all the other transactions kind of at my disposal, which is fun. So, like, for instance, I look at here, and this is the volume chart, for the last, since November 1st. All my data goes back to November 1st. So you can see kind of what the volume is. You can see the impact of Blur here, and the overall volume it has. In fact, if we were to filter to just OpenSea, OpenSea's been pretty consistent, really, for the last period. Going to see a little bit lower today, just with some of the stuff that's going on. But otherwise, you can see where that's at. But then we can also look at it and say, okay, who's the top traders? Obviously, Machi is currently the king of NFTs right now in terms of trading volume. Not necessarily most successful, but and then you can see where they're trading, the type of volume they're doing, the collections that they're trading, etc. From there, which is really cool. So overall volume as well, of those collections, and be able to dig in that way. Like I said, I wouldn't mind being able to go in there and do more, where I can look at multiple top buyers, and which I can select them, but also be able to exclude them from some of this reporting. Whoa, all right, zooming. That's one of the challenges with remote sharing a Mac to a PC, is that the keyboard doesn't lay out quite the same, so it throws me off a little bit here and there. But and then be able to flip through some of the other stuff. So got the normal blue chip index, in here. One of the crazy things about doing this index, which is a little bit different from other places, and it depends on how data is being collected, is that I drive all my floor prices based on kind of like the lowest sales from the day, and then I do a bit of math on it to say, okay, if it's say I don't know if it's 70. I think I have it set that if it's less than 70% of the average or the middle sale of the day, then it's excluded. But it's really hard to exclude all sales. So that's why you see some of these peaks and some of these valleys in here, is due to that. But otherwise, it does take a look at the floor, and this one is I'm kind of still massaging a bit. Works really good on a singular collection, and you can see here that probably CryptoPunks is driving some of that chaos in the blue chip index, because you could have a day where you only have, one or two sales in CryptoPunks, and all of a sudden then it takes a floor price for that day, of being, really high. So I'll play around with that more and see if I can normalize that a little bit, but kind of an idea there. And then this one here looks into just kind of a summarize of collections, and some kind of overall metrics for the collections, i.e. royalties, etc., and be able to look at that. And then some of the ones that I like a lot more are this floor chart that I built on. And what's kind of cool about this one is that you can see the the kind of the lowest floor point, and the highest, and then it kind of gives you an indication of really where that project is currently in its cycle. So you can kind of see Azuki's towards the high end of where it's been more recently. And then also the light blue in the background is the median average sale for that range as well. So I'm trying to determine whether or not a high separation on median means that it's a little bit more bullish on an upswing versus when they're close to together. There is that a little bit more bearish signal. Still not sure, but working away on there. And then you can also take that same perspective and look at the collection on the scatter chart, which allows you to see the volume over a greater period of time. Or not the volume, but every single transaction. And right now it's color coded based on the platform that it's on. It would be really cool to have rarity built into this, but that's a whole nother range of data to incorporate, which I don't have yet. And then again, you can see who the high buyers are here, what platforms it's being traded on, etc. And then last bit is some NFT stats. Some of these charts that I'm kind of working on workshopping that will hopefully be useful indicators as we go forward. But be able to look at this and expand it out. So these are unique NFTs traded on a daily basis. Unique collections, average sale, average royalties. Obviously, we know kind of what that looks like a bit here. So February 15th, kind of the death of royalties, so to speak. We are seeing some rebound on that, but that's also part and back to of newer collections coming out over time that will help offset that as they are able to enforce royalties on the contract level. So yeah, that's kind of like a overall short summary of it. But trying to pull in some of the metrics, et cetera, that we already use, but also be able to do it on a much larger scale, and hopefully be able to tell some of those stories. But being able to look at a floor in rapid succession is really nice with this. Being able to cycle through collections that way. I also have this to list trending collections. So trending really is just collections with the most volume or the most sales transactions, and then that way you can kind of see a bit of a mixture that way and see how they look. So yeah, thoughts, questions, comments, grievances. Silence. So about that poker.
Yeah, I'm working on it. See what happens. We should get a pretty good tournament, though. I think with all the different communities.
That'd be fun.
Because I mean, I only asked two, and they both said yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'll get some other ones. I was thinking My Pet Hooligan. I can probably get them like feline fiends. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I
we
think
can
I have a
start with
good
a one or
one.
two and then grow from there.
Is that what you want to do?
I don't know if we want to do like, yeah, let's start with maybe like one or two. If it goes well, maybe we do more.
All right. So
Yeah, more
maybe like
scalable.
each week we could just do a different
Yeah. Hmm.
thing, but then like also keep it open to the other ones that we've already had.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But I know TL43 and AP Mike join us. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I don't know if you want to do a quick brief roads of what you are covering today. Maybe that's helpful for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, feel free to type into public chat there. There's a little icon you can type into chat for VC, and then we can answer questions that way too if you don't want to speak. But yeah, overall, it's just a matter of we're just going through some of the what's going on in the market, looking at a few different items that way, and seeing what's going on. So. Um, these are always been fun sessions to kind of go back and forth and talk about whatever's kind of interesting for the moment too. So often that interest comes with maybe some unique questions, etc. That we can kind of debate and discuss. Trying to think of what we did last week. That was really cool. There's a good amount of slipping my mind now. But either way, just a process going through here. But often I'm using some of the tools, like for instance the Google Docs here. That's available to holders to be able to go through and see some of these market stats that we populate. And all of this is kind of auto generated for the most part, other than collection names, and gives you kind of a nice summary of what's going on, what's hot, so to speak, and they're pretty good there. So like 1935 Pepe's was an interesting one here earlier today. I kind of thought that was unique, but a lot of these are really quick, short grabs, and it's a matter of watching and catching them as they go. Because when you do see the right collection, it's pretty clear on when they'll pop off with the right kind of scenarios that go with them. There was one the other day that was exactly that. Actually, it was over the weekend. Owls weren't necessarily as clear to me. I think if I would have seen it on first glance, I don't know if it would have been something that I would have immediately thought was amazing. But there was one. There was one yesterday that was very much like that. Limited collection size that really takes off. But when things when the new productive work kind of slows down, then that's where I tend to fall back to is hanging out, looking for some of the volume and movers on magically to see what's going on that way, to get those kind of indications. So, but yeah, I mean, ask questions in chat, and we can definitely go through. But one thing I've noticed actually a decent amount of as I go through some of this data is the amount of kind of farming esque or non true activity that happens within the space still, because of royalties being lower. There was definitely kind of some pattern buy sells in collections. I've tried to kind of remove them when they don't make sense to the data, but there's still a decent amount of that going on.
I have a question though.
Mm-hmm.
What's the criteria you're looking for to potentially see that something is going to run? Because when I look at like I realize sometimes that the art isn't necessarily a appropriate indicator for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because using owls as an that did, if that makes sense.
Sure. I think my Discord hiccup there for a second, but let me kind of rephrase what I believe I caught there. So, obviously owls didn't necessarily stand out a lot. I mean, the only correlation with them was maybe owls, moonbirds, and then also chain faces, and sort of that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's also maybe perceived as a little bit like checks, but what I look for and what I try to be cognizant of is when you're looking at collections that come up, um, what stands out often is any collections that can check boxes of previous successful collections, right? So I call them markers, but basically, just trying to recognize a pattern of success from the past, right? So that comes with experience in being aware of the NFT markets, but also, as you go through it, try to identify, okay, let's take a look at Not Found Series 2, for instance. So I think this one's been around for a couple days, or is this brand new one today? This is from today. So with this collection, you go in there and look, and you try to peg off anything that is of note or of interest, right? So I think first off, this is unique, interesting kind of image, right? Um, you know that stands out a little bit to me. I don't know
Your
if
screen.
my screen's still sharing.
I can't see anything. I'm not sure if it's only me.
Okay, well, my Discord, when it hiccuped, it totally hiccuped. Then let me go back.
Yeah, I lost it also.
Yeah, I kind of went roboty there for a second, and it felt like I lost everything. So let's go back and reshare my screen here. My apologies. It wasn't a good example, the collection I was looking at, so I'm gonna go to something else. But we'll go and share. Okay. Okay, so we're back. So we are on this collection, right? But I'll typically try to look, in a lot of these instances, a lot of these scenarios, the quicker you collect or catch them from the start, sometimes is the better. Otherwise, as we look at NFTs and as we look at cycles, there's a bit of a hype cycle early, 1 to 2 days, maybe a week, kind of scenario, and then it often will dip off, right? So often at the earlier you can identify, there's more risk associated with that, but you're looking for, does it have any interesting art that relates to a previous collection that was successful, right? You don't want to look for necessarily a derivative, but is there something about it that stands out? Now that's the most subjective marker you can look for, and isn't always very successful. From there, you want to find out, okay, who's producing this project, right? Can you find out who's producing it, and are they notable? If they are notable, follower count sometimes is useful. Sometimes the amount of people that are following the collection that you also follow, things like that. It says, okay, is this someone or some form of team that has produced this? A lot of these can kind of come out of nowhere as well. So in those instances when they come out of nowhere, it's a little harder to discern. But as you look through this collection here, and I also try to look at further examples of the art, and they'll often have kind of leaks or examples of it. And if these are the leaks or examples of this specific project here, they, to me, look good on first glance. Now, of course, this collection hasn't necessarily taken off to any significance at this point. I don't know if it's because it's tagged as part 2, or if there's another collection associated with it, which then makes it a little harder to determine. Yeah, so here's series 1. So the images we're seeing were from series 1, and 0.2 ETH, 0.2 ETH, like that's generally speaking pretty successful in the early time frame, right? So but that's the art that stands out. Collection size is a collection size small, then that gives you an opportunity for the product to run a little faster. Just things like that, just trying to identify as many points that stand out, and as you see more of them, then that kind of lends to what could be successful. Then things that go further on that, say if you go back to checks, just try to understand what's the narrative, what's the storyline of how this could be successful, and try to explain that out. And does that make sense? So it's never a concrete answer. All of this isn't necessarily easy, but you want to look for things like that. Then once you've done that kind of stuff and said, hey, this kind of stands out, this looks interesting, you know, art looks good, and you know, it looks like it's produced by someone that's interesting, then you want to kind of also look at it on a very critical or critiqueful eye, and then say, okay, what are things that are possibly not good about this project? And it's important to contrast, right? Because sometimes you'll see something that pops up, and maybe it's a little bit too good to be true. Maybe it's a situation where it's AI art and you thought it was real art. You know, that often happens or happened in the past. Is it actually, you know, copied art from another project or for somewhere else? Things like that that also can kind of be challenges as well. So just looking at those kind of things to make sure that there's nothing you're missing in that respect. So I don't know if I answered your question fully there. It's a challenging one to answer, but those are the kind of things that we like to look for.
Oh no, that's a pretty good answer. I appreciate that.
Appreciate the question as well. Thank you. And then like on a short time frame, just looking for volume as well, right? Um, Blur's made it a little bit harder with some of this volume stuff because of the, you know, the mass bid dumps and things like that happen. But just looking at the collections and saying, okay, typically it's you want to see anywhere between 50 to 100 in a short time frame if you're you know, trying to trade something shorter frame. Otherwise, you know, if it's an existing established collection, then you just want consistent continued volume over time for it to be successful. Another marker that, you know, used to stand out really well was about a 3-week time frame where, you know, collections come out that first week or into pre-reveal. There's a lot of hype, but then there's often a, you know, a pullback or whatnot from there, and it's that 3-week range if that collection is still around and establishing, where it seems to find that traction and that kind of that launching point. Often you see that often with many collections. I'm sure if we look at checks, it's probably not totally indifferent to that 3-week time horizon. So something to be aware of as an interesting point as well. I don't know if I have the metrics here right now, but one of the more interesting thing that stands out with some of the trading volume right now is that let's see here. I have unique traders here or buyers. That Blur or sorry, OpenSea is still generating more sales on a collection basis than Blur is, right? So Blur is still heavily driven by, you know, the few kind of farmers than it is anything else. So, you know, as much as it's gained a lot of transaction, and in some of the transaction where it's got more transaction is on the larger, more established collections, but the average or entry level trader is still active on OpenSea, right? And that's where you're seeing the, you know, the users, etc. So that's where it works. But I'm gonna just try and pull that up to show that example here. So. And pull up my chat in case there's any questions there. My mouse isn't scrolling. Nothing to scroll. So if I go in and I add in buyer address, so that's count to buyer address, which is not necessarily unique, but we can go count distinct. So this is distinct traders per day. And then I can also add in here the platform. And of course it doesn't maintain my colors. We'll go here and change the colors here as well. At least the important colors. Blur. Let's see. And you can see kind of OpenSea being, almost 2-3 to 1 prior to season 2, and then as of season 2 it's still running probably 1.5 times unique wallets trading on the platform. There's also been an indication that blurs, very active or very advanced farmers are running more than one wallet to be able to generate farming rewards, just because diminishing returns when you farm so much. So that's another idea behind that. So there's probably some increased wallet volume in here as well, just due to the farming activity. But this still kind of indicates that OpenSea's still pretty strong, and I'm curious to see how this continues to play out. Another way I can look at this chart's not bad, but if we look at it on a bar chart, this gives an indication of it a little bit clearer in terms of percent. And so, 58% of all unique wallets are on OpenSea, 36% Blur. Now, this does it unique buyers per platform, so it's not a, you could have the same wallet show up on each platform, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, these are the type of questions we can totally answer and dig into and do on a really quick basis, maybe quicker than you can in a lot of other spots, which is fun to be able to do. So gonna enjoy digging into some of this stuff as I finish building this out. See you later, TL4. Any other questions, thoughts as we get up to the weekend here? Anyone got anything exciting going on this weekend? Oh, I'm actually sharing not even sharing the right window, am I? Sharing my OBS.
I'm just getting ready.
window.
Getting ready to head out.
So you're going to, where is it again? Sorry?
Ireland.
Nice. Have you been anywhere like that before?
Yeah, I get around. I've been to Ireland. I think this is the 13th time
Wow.
in like 4 years.
Nice. That's awesome. Any you just love traveling, or any reason why you go to there or anything like that? Is it kind of family related, or?
Yeah, my wife lives in Ireland,
Okay.
so half my family is there.
Yeah. Fair enough. Nice. That's awesome. How are you noticing flights lately?
What's that?
How are you noticing the price of flights lately? Are they?
It was about normal. It was like a
Okay.
little bit over $500 round trip from
What?
JFK to Dublin.
No way. I guess, I mean, it's not as far as it seems, for one. Like, what's the length on that flight? 5 hours kind of idea?
Uh,
Or
like 6.5
6.5?
there
Okay.
and 7 back, I want to say, something like that.
Yeah. So that's not terrible.
A little bit long. Could be a little bit longer depending on the winds.
Yeah. I ask because I'm trying to look for a little mini vacation. I'm about to turn 40 believe it or not. Hopefully you don't believe it, so I'm peaceful or whatnot. But I'm about to turn 40, so I want to do a bit of a birthday trip, which is hard to do when you have kids. You know, try and leave the kids behind, but then you have to, leave your kids behind and manage to not, upset anyone that has to take care of your kids for more than a couple days. But so I was looking at, Vegas, Seattle, nothing crazy. I mean, I don't necessarily want to spend a ton of money, and then you can only, go so far before you have to come back, right? So, I mean, Vegas is the natural one, but like flights to Vegas, it's pricing out today, and like to get decent timed flights, etc. I was looking at like $1,500 for two people return, which is just bonkers. I did get it down to like 800 if I use like my travel
What are you
companion
using to
voucher.
look
And
for them?
well, I'm using my airline, so I have a rewards card with the airline. But the rewards card, I don't. I mean, it provides some value like the buddy pass, etc. But beyond that, I'm not necessarily tied to that one airline, so I may look a little bit more. But being Canadian, I'm limited on my options there, and also I have to fly to a more major city that actually goes direct to somewhere like Vegas or Seattle. Which Seattle's not a very far drive for me. It's maybe 6 hours, but wintertime driving is not. Even sitting in a car for 6 hours isn't the most ideal way to travel when you only have 2 days. So I might end up going hopping over to Vancouver if it ends up being. But like, yeah, I think Seattle was like looking like it was going to be more expensive than Vegas, things like that. It was just crazy. Some of the flights I was seeing. So, but it's been a few years since I traveled, and the last trip I went on was to Hawaii, and like, I could get to Hawaii and back for like 700, with some, rewards included in that. So it's pretty hard to justify a 2 day trip to Vegas for, 1,000 plus on travel. So, not to mention hotels, etc. Right. So, still yet to be
Yeah,
there. And
right. 2
like,
days.
yeah, 2 days you spend,
It's 2 days isn't long enough. That's not a vacation.
no,
That's a
it's,
weekend. We
yeah,
get them every week. Like,
yeah.
you need to take, like, 2 weeks, you know?
Well, yeah,
But
I mean,
I wouldn't
ideally,
say 2 weeks in Vegas,
no.
you know?
Vegas is hard to
Um,
survive more than like 3 days, but
yeah, like, a weekend is plenty.
yeah. But that's the idea. Go there for a couple nights, catch a show, get a nice dinner, maybe do a little shopping. That sounds all right to me. But it's at those prices, it sounds less enjoyable when I could say, hey, if I just stay a little closer to home, take that same kind of range of money, I can
Check Skyscanner.
Skyscanner.
Um, yeah, and then also, like, if you have a casino in mind, ask them also, or
Okay,
look at their websites, and sometimes they'll have like travel deals where you can book nights in their hotel and you get like cheap ass flights.
interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like next month, April, it's not the most busy time. I guess it's coming out of spring, so maybe there's some extra volume in travel, but you wouldn't expect like it's anything like peak season, right? So, but
Yeah, no, I mean it's 3,500 miles to Ireland and 500, like just over 500, and that's because I chose which seat I wanted, you
mhm,
know. Like I wanted a front window seat.
yeah,
So I paid for that and it was just over 500.
that's all right. It's pretty good.
We used
I
to have
wish.
them like a couple of years back before COVID. We had them right out of the local airport near me, Stewart, New York.
Yeah.
And it like $300 I was paying round trip to Ireland, round trip to
Wow.
Dublin.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I guess like if you were to try to fly to Hawaii, you would spend a
Yeah,
substantial amount of
Hawaii
money, right?
is like
Because
that, like over a grand.
it's West Coast versus East Coast in terms of your destinations, right? And like that's another challenge. Is like
Hawaii is a long ways away. I want to say it. I forget how many miles it is off the coast.
there's kind of limited destinations that I really have to choose from. So San Diego is another one I checked out. San Francisco.
San Diego is cool.
It is.
I like San Diego.
The return
The
flights.
Hotel
The return flights out of
del
San Diego.
Coronado.
It was like 1,600. You could get there really cheap,
Oh,
but
damn.
you couldn't get back. So, that was tough.
Damn.
Because I mean, I'd be flying back, leaving on a weekend as well, which is tough too.
Right.
Because
That's a long drive
like
too. Like I drove the whole well, not the entire Pacific Coast Highway,
yeah.
but I drove from where it starts. Like I drove from San Diego all the way to Portland, Oregon,
Nice.
in a freaking Ryder box truck. Yeah, like people were not happy that day. Those 2 days.
I did that same. I've done that same drive actually a few times. Not all the way to San Diego. I've done down to LA once, but mostly down to San Francisco.
That's
Which is
cool.
nice. Nice little drive for sure.
Yeah, I remember seeing all like just a whole bunch of sea lions laying on the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it was pretty neat.
we camped just in Oregon. Or maybe it might have been Northern Cal, right around that border. And the campsite that we stayed at, we woke up to sea lions in the morning, which is kind of cool. So we went and found them and checked them out in the morning.
Cool.
Yeah. I wish, and I don't know how I'm gonna be able to pull this off, but I would love to be able to see the scatter combined with a bit of a floor price kind of aggregation here. The problem that happens when I do that is that the axis gets thrown off a bit here. But it'll be really cool to kind of combine it to be able to see the transactions, but also see kind of the aggregate average or something like that on a chart. Anyone else got questions, thoughts, anything anyone's looking at, thinking about looking at?
You know, I'm always on the sewer pass hype. I almost got scammed today.
Oh,
Oh yeah, what was the deal with that?
I was trying to sell my sewer pass for like, I don't know, like 11.5 ETH and like make like easy like 2.5 ETH, and some guy sent me like a weird link. And I'm like, bro, I don't get
Would you
scammed that
love to
easy.
see? What kind of link did he send you?
It was like a X2Y2 link. It looked exactly like X2Y2, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay. I mean, your pass is high rank and companion, so it probably trades, you know, well above whatever the tier 4 floor price is. But
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
like
it trades. I don't
8.4.
think it trades 2x because I think the floor price on sewer pass is like what 5.9 or something like that. Not even 6.
I have the OpenSea I have the OpenSea traits thing pulled up.
Yeah, no, I know. But he's offering you 2x the floor, right? For tier. Well, I guess that's not for tier 2, not for tier 4.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
was too good to be true.
You should post that guy on Twitter.
Expose him.
Yeah.
Expose him.
Just the what did you ask? What's the
Protocol
procedure?
for exposing
Yeah.
scammers?
Just fucking put all the information and say scammer.
Yeah. The link is super. The link was super legit looking though.
Yeah, so he probably gets a lot of people with it.
True.
almost like
Let me.
doing a
How do you do it?
Yeah,
Let me
or
see.
whatever.
I got a bunch
Private
of
sale.
ape friends with apes that they got it differently. They had their ape, and there was, I think you and I were speaking about this, Denksy, but they wanted to license their ape or whatever, right? They just wanted to license it. They give you an
Yeah.
opportunity to license it and make money off the IP so that they can put it on their whatever, their gallery. I don't know. They kind of like try to make it super sweet on you, and then what they do, either they send you a malicious link, or they get your wallet info somehow, input it in. I don't know how they do it, but I've seen and I've heard a bunch of apes lose their their BAYCs and their mutant apes, because they these guys approach you with like, oh, your ape is amazing, there's opportunities to license it and monetize it, and then everyone gets super excited, and then next thing you know is you don't have it anymore. So be careful.
There's some recent crazy
I
low
was just gonna
sales.
tell him to right-click save the ape.
Right click save is fine, but they what they want is the the obvious
But and
value.
they want to hold the NFT for the that's doesn't make sense.
There's a 19 ETH sale recently. I don't know what rank that was. It's also on X2Y too. But then also, and I think I'd be curious. It might be a good one to look into is the, because there have been some pretty low sales, like a 1.17 on OpenSea, even though I'm almost guaranteed that the bidding on Blur would be higher than that. So don't forget about possibly using collection bids on OpenSea. Like I said, more people are still trading on OpenSea than they are Blur. So like you look at the floor is holding around 2 ETH, right? But you get I guess 1.85 currently. But there's some lower ones here, and actually the one that got dumped off of OpenSea is being listed on Blur right now for 1.65. It's a pretty wild chart though to look at, the sewer pass. You have the various tiers and how they kind of came out the gate there.
Here, let me show you what I see. Uh, you guys can see my screen. Oh. So these are the passes that are similar to mine, and it's selling for like eight and a half.
9. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how OpenSea does the trade stuff is good. I think you can do it on Blur as well, but I think it's more difficult. Let me see if I can do it on Blur real quick.
There hasn't been a lot of sales well above 8 over the last, say, handful of days on them.
This is what I have on Blur, but they don't order it by the pass rank.
Oh, so you can sort like say tier 4 and look at it that way.
Like they don't like for OpenSea, you can like I did rank 1 to 3,000
Yeah.
because mine's sub 3,000, but like these are like 25K,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like grouped in with these. Like this one, this pass, and this pass is a lot better than this pass. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's some
Is that
tier ones that are better than this pass. If you're looking specifically for summoning.
Yeah.
And like this pass is really good. Like this. There's like 8.2. This is a good one to buy. This one's hella cheap. This one, 8.5 for 1,500. Because these all have companions. And they're T4.
When's the next phase on Sewer Pass?
It's the 15th
Okay.
is the summoning.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes then. But there's gonna be more games
Mhm.
that Terran's gonna be happy about. That's not apparently not Twitch based, so it's like all mental games.
Oh, okay.
It's like chess. It's gonna be like Yuga Labs chess.
Interesting.
You gotta hire some like chess streamer instead of Fortnite streamers. You gotta get like Magnus Carlsen to play chess. Play the Yuga chess for you.
Look up Chess Liam on YouTube. He's a DF or not a DFS, but fantasy football player streamer, but he also does chess. So that's your guy.
You're referring to the one who won the first place?
My friend?
Rhodes? Oh no, I thought you were referring to the one who won the first.
No,
Mongrel,
no,
whatever. Yeah.
no. I'm just saying like someone that knows chess. If there's any
Oh,
chess
yeah.
related games, right? But chess is a probably very specific skill set that I guess you could be good at mental games and not necessarily
Yeah.
good at chess.
Instead
anyways,
of
right?
instead of having Mongrel or Orangey, we're gonna have Magnus Carlsen here join us. Or
That's what I said.
or Hikaru, no? Hikaru.
Yeah.
That guy is insane. We can have honestly, that could be actually a very smart way for them to join. Because they get paid handsomely for playing on chess.com. So
Bro, if they make like a chess variant,
it's honestly a way for you just have to get the best gamers at every single game, right? You already got the best Fortnite gamer, and now you just have to get the best chess player, and then just keep going.
That's exactly it.
yes,
market.
they should like degenerate games, like roulette or something. Yuga roulette.
I mean,
The
chess is
best
actually
roulette player.
chess is fairly not degen actually, especially if you have a
Yeah.
high rank. So
The best.
doesn't matter how much you grind in chess, you get better, but you don't get to master level. It is about IQ and a bunch of things. Like I think you can grind Fortnite to a point that you can be very good, at least if you play 24 hours. But even if you play 24-hour chess, I can tell you can't get to Magnus Carlsen level or Hikaru. Those guys are prodigies. They're like high IQ, very smart.
Well, they have the whole like chess memorized. They have like 50 moves memorized. They're like you
Yeah,
play 50 moves
yeah.
and then like you move the pawn one move early and like you're gonna lose a pawn in 4 moves.
I mean, obviously they know the starting moves, etc. But it really is. I guess from my expertise, like chess, it really is not about how you start. Really, it's really the ending game is the most important. Obviously, the middle right is important too, but the end game is critical, and that's why these guys play, like 1 or 2 minute blitz games. Like it's like super short, like not even like 50 seconds sometimes. And so the first 10-20 moves don't matter. It really is about the last 30 seconds of the game, which is it's pretty insane how they play so fast.
Back when I was in the Marine Corps, I played like my bunkmate, my roommate, in the barracks. He was a big chess player. He was rated like grandmaster. So
Mm-hmm.
he taught me how to play chess, and that for like 3 years, that's all I did was play speed chess, 3-minute rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I got pretty good, but to me, it's all about how far you can see how far you can remember into the future,
Yes.
and then all it just branches off into everything. I used to love it.
Yeah. Yeah, to foresee multiple moves from your opponent, and then you plan accordingly. Yeah, it's kind of like that TV show from Netflix. You kind of like have to paint, multiple ways to, to end the game, your head. So, anyways, we'll see what happens with the game, but there's a bunch of things coming up here in March.
Awesome. Well, I noticed
What do we got any sneak peeks? What do we got coming up in March?
Oh, for B3L per se, there's yeah, we'll have some information, but I was just referring to the industry in general, like the space. There's a bunch of big important announcements that are coming up from different projects. So new projects coming up. I know there's a bunch of them that Milky's working with for a whitelist. So we're excited about that. And yeah, I mean, obviously Yuga, 10KTF, there's a bunch of them that are dropping some hints about March activations. So we'll see.
to keep that momentum going. But yeah, it looks like my stream went down again. I don't know what. Anytime I move my mouse to the corner, the Mac window expand there. I think that's what was crashing it. But my time is up. Gotta go downstairs and make some dinner. So thanks everyone for showing up. Like I said, I'm going to schedule one here for Tuesday, or at least check my schedule, make sure that works. But do one earlier in the week here, and that way we can try and capture people before they've entered weekend mode, and go from there. So appreciate everyone for showing up. Again, if you have any thoughts, comments towards any analytics or project stuff, let me know. It's very helpful in building some stuff out, but it's good.
Thanks, Rhodes. Yeah, have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy that weekend.
Yeah,
Cheers,
thanks
guys.
a lot, man. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Travel safe.
Thanks. See ya.